Some of the rewards for me have been being able to connect with people at all different times in their life, when they're having good times and joyous times and when things aren't so good, and realizing that I've been blessed to be a part of so much of people's lives, and that being a part of those lives has allowed Jesus to have something to do with their lives. And I've really come to realize that a teacher, for instance, their students get too old. Well, my students are never too young or too old, and I don't have to let anybody go because they got too young or too old. And I feel like I can be a pastor to anybody I run into on the street, because nobody's off limits, because nobody's beyond the reach of compassion and care and concern. There's two things that I would like to think about at that. And one thing is that I have always served in fairly small churches and some really small churches. And one of the things that that's taught me is that no matter the size of the church, no matter the size of the community, you can always reach out to people. The first church that I served was really small. And a neighbor lady had come by and borrowed a punch bowl from us, and she was returning it to the church while the organist was playing. And the organist said, "Why don't you come to church sometime?" And she said, "Oh, I couldn't do that. I'm too shy. I can't stand to be around crowds." And my organist said, "Have we got a church for you? There's hardly ever anybody here." And that helped me to realize that even small churches have something to offer. Probably the most rewarding and fulfilling thing that ever happened in my ministry, though. One time I was serving in a church that was not far from the high school in town. And so I got to going to some of the high school athletic events and got close to the girls' basketball team, and which was kind of unusual because they never won any games and nobody ever went to their games. But I started going, and at the end of the first year, when the next year started, two of the girls came to me and asked if I would pray with the team before the games. And first of all, I had to make sure it was okay with the coach. And I made sure with all of the team members that none of them would be offended. And I started doing that at all the home games. The next year, I was invited to ride on the team bus to the away games. And to have a part with those kids was amazing, especially since none of them actually attended my church. And it was the closest thing to being out and outreach to youth that I could do. And at the end of that year, they presented me with a precious moments angel that said, "Thank you for caring," and an autographed team photo. And that's when I think I felt that ministry is really, really special. When I was thinking about that question, I remembered what my counseling elder said when I first came into the ministry. She's Jean Kramer-Hurman, a wonderful person. She said to me, "I have only 2 words of advice for you. Preach the gospel and love the people." And those are the same words of advice I would give to anybody entering the ministry right now. I'm retiring a little earlier than we'd planned, so that's not really all solidified yet. I'm still looking to see what God wants us to do. Of course, since my husband Joe is still a pastor, we'll be at Bethalto until the bishop and cabinet decide we need to go someplace else. I'm looking forward to seeing what God has to do, and I've always wanted to do advanced work in spiritual formation or complete a study course in that. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to do that. Plus, we have one grandbaby and another one coming in September, and they're ecstatic that Grandma will be able to come up more often and visit.